Hello, Facebook. Ooh. It's Monday morning. I'm flying to Holland tomorrow to teach a 30-hour restorative yoga teacher training in Utrecht with all my wonderful, smiling Dutch students. And instead of packing or doing my email, which I probably should be doing, I wanted to make this video. I've been wanting to make it for a while, this Facebook Live for you about my favorite yoga books. So people ask me all the time for recommendations, and in my teacher trainings, I give out a link, which I thought it's a hidden link on my website, which I thought I would share with all of you so you can get some of the deep insider knowledge about what I really recommend. I was also thinking about it because I am going carry-on to Amsterdam tomorrow, and I can only bring 8 kilos, like 15 pounds. So I was trying to do some book triage this morning of what I absolutely need and what I can live without for 5 days of teaching. So let me tell you the link. It's LizzieLasater.com/books. You can find everything there. Let's see if I can share my screen with you. It doesn't look like I can do that during the broadcast. So I'm going to click over and look at it. The first couple of books that I recommend are books by Mom, basically, and a book where I contributed an essay called The Yoga Teaching Handbook. I wrote about the challenges of teaching yoga in our time. Like, what does it mean to be a yoga teacher in this era of, yoga has undergone a transnational migration and also a transgender migration when we brought it from India, from the male Indian body into the female American or European body. And now we're also, as teachers, undergoing this kind of massive technological shift. I mean, yoga used to be taught one-on-one, you and your guru. And then in the past 100 years, we've brought it into the studio context, into co-ed classes. That was like a revolution from Mr. Iyer. And now with online, it's really like, what are we even teaching anymore? So I write about that, about the challenges that we have as teachers to not get caught up in believing the rigidity of what we should be teaching because this is true yoga from some sort of idea of lineage and 100 years ago. Because as the medium shifts, when we're teaching online and we're reaching people with Instagram, the degree to which I want to give myself permission, my students, my teacher trainees permission to evolve the practice. So, hi, Lisa. I see you blah-blahing me. You're so funny. Okay, so back to the books. My favorite books, of course, this is like key for me. I never leave home without this book, Restore and Rebalance, Mom's new restorative book. So for my practice, I have it next to me on my mat a lot. For teaching, of course, it's 20 restorative yoga poses. The best 20. The most, like in advertising language, how they say like, the most effective, the most powerful, the most magical. No, but this is really, I think it's also beautifully done. This model, Olivia, I just think she's so stunning. I mean, look at this. It's gorgeous. Look at this. Oh, you can follow her on Instagram, by the way, Olivia Hsu, HSU. She's a rock climber and an Ashtanga yoga, really fantastic. Okay, so this book is also on the list, the Radiance Sutra. I've been totally obsessed with this book. I found Lorne. I have not studied with him or met him yet, but I found him on my Australia tour via books. And this, I'm going to read you guys a quote at the end from this book. The Radiance Sutra is poetry. It's tantric. Each of them they're quite short. So that's good for our millennial mind syndrome. They're these kind of short, each one is just one idea and one thought. And I love to pull these up while my students are in Shavasana. I like to have this book with me and I can kind of flip through and I find one sort of nugget. And sometimes I read it to the students at the end of Shavasana, or sometimes it's just for me. I kind of sit with it and meditate with it during the silence. I love that this book has kind of succinct ideas, like one idea at a time, because my brain cannot handle so many ideas at once. Like here's one. I just literally randomly opened, number 69. Meditate on the self as being vast as the sky, a body of energy, extending forever in all directions, above, below, all around. Like that's enough for an entire week of practice, an entire month of practice, an entire lifetime of practice. So this book, the Radiance Sutra, is super rich. What else do I have on the list? Meditation Secrets for Women and Meditation Made Easy by the same author, Lauren Roche. They're just, what I like about those books is they're just really down to earth. They're super practical how they're written. There's no schnick-schnack, which is this Austrian word for like decoration and fluff. They don't talk about, I don't resonate with meditation as an esoteric practice. I personally really resonate with meditation as a simple, embodied, everyday practice. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you sit down, and shut up. It's just, and also what I like about Lauren is he talks about meditation as pleasure, not as punishment and not as striving and not as kind of inflicting the meditation on ourselves, but just a way to kind of be with ourselves in a gentle, luscious, kind, silent manner. Yeah? Okay. So this is all at lizzielasseter.com/books. Okay, then The Art of Stillness, Pico, Iyer, perennial all-star. It's a really short look at, he's a brilliant, elegant writer, and it's just, he's traveled and lived around the world, and it's a kind of take on slowing down, not specifically in a yoga or a meditation context, but just the value of taking in less input nowadays because we're all so saturated. Okay, Practicing the Power of Now, also brilliant. Waking Up, Sam Harris. I really like that book because it has a bit more of a scientific, he's a very sort of professor approach. And so for those of us or those of our students who maybe are more left brain oriented, it has a little bit more evidence-based thinking about meditation. Okay, and then Practice You from the Radiant Elena Brower. It's a journal with a lot of questions and prompts. And I have drawn from those questions many times for my own journaling and also for my students. Often I like to ask students to journal between restorative yoga poses. I think it's a really potent time when people are soft and when all of our sort of defense mechanisms, our boundaries get a little bit permeable. And so we're able to hear things from our unconscious mind that we maybe haven't heard before. For example, one of the questions I love, which I got from that book, is what does my body know that my mind doesn't know yet? So that's like a great journal prompt for students, for all of us, when we're in this soft space that restorative yoga engenders. So it's, that book is so beautiful, like just the physical object. You're supposed to write in it. You're supposed to like journal in it and write your answers. But mine is like still pristine because I always like read the questions and then I write in another journal, like Lisa's blah, blah, blah book that she gave me. A student gave me this. Let me see if it's on my shelf right here. She gave me this. It's right here. I'm going to grab it. This great, because I talked about the kind of yoga blah, blah that mom sometimes says, when your students are getting into Shavasana and you say like, and now inhaling the breath in ever increasing depth and breadth and width as you begin to sink down into the presence and the weight of the body, blah, 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 the yoga, blah, blah. And so Lisa gave me this. journal, blah, 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 which I love. And I schlepped back from Australia. I carried it all the way back to Austria with me. So thank you, Lisa. So yeah, my Elena Brower practice you is still untouched because it's so beautiful. Okay, the last one on this list is Being Mortal, which is a book about death, beautifully written by a doctor who sort of simultaneously as he's writing, his name is Atul Gawande, he's looking at death as how we deal with death as a culture from the American perspective and from the Indian perspective. He's Indian American, and his father gets cancer, and so he looks at death from the perspective of the patient, from the patient's family, and also he has, of course, a unique perspective as a doctor. So I think it's a wonderful book for any of us who may know someone or be someone who's going to die. Because that's what we want to do, is grow our skills and our strength of being present with people. And the more we look death in the eye, in the face, the more comfortable and the more able we are to really be with the people in our lives and ourselves as we suffer. So I wanted to read you, I just wrote something about this on Instagram, my little Instagram page. I know you're here on Facebook, but you should also be following me here on Instagram. Okay, I wrote this weekend apropos of death. Yoga is about death. Everybody thinks it's about dog pose, but actually it's about learning to let go of everything. What better preparation for death? And then I go on, there's more to the post. It's this one, if you want to find it, where I'm skiing and smiling in my helmet. Yeah, because, as a yoga teacher, I wonder, those of you who are listening, watching, if you have this experience, if you're a teacher, or even an enthusiast, someone who's, into yoga. My friends, my husband's friends, they like to ask me about yoga. It's a kind of bubbly topic. Especially, well, actually the men as well. I was going to say the wives, but especially, they ask me about yoga a lot. And everybody asks me about dog pose, about the physical aspects. And I am longing for, first in our community, and then of course into the wider world, that we begin to rebrand, rediscover, re-understand the much deeper context of yoga. So mom is this great definition. I think this is probably I have two favorite definitions of yoga. Mom says, number one, it's a state, and it's the practices associated with that state. So are you barefoot? Unfortunately, no, I am freezing. Look, I'm wearing slippers and socks. Austria. Beautiful, but very cold. Yeah, so it's a state and the practices associated with that state. So it's not, first of all, the practices are just associated with the state. So dog pose does not create the state of yoga. It's associated with the state of yoga. And we all know this. Sometimes you get on your mat and you drop into the breath, and you instantly, within 3 breaths, you're just there. You're swimming in that delicious state of yoga. And sometimes you can do a 90-minute flow practice, and after Shavasana, you're still agitated. You have not reached the state of yoga. Okay, and then my second definition, because I teased that, my second favorite definition is heart up, brain down, right? So simple and elegant and beautiful. All we're trying to do is more from here and less from here. That's the definition of yoga. Okay, I'm going to end soon because it's already been 14 minutes and 30 seconds. I know that's long. So the page is lizzielasseter.com/books. I started listing some of these travel novels because as I move around the world, I've been asking people to recommend contemporary fiction from their country, like someone recommended a great book from Australia that's an Australian author that everyone there knows, but I didn't know, or from Indonesia. So I'm starting to collect those, and the ones that I love, I'm listing up here on this. Is kind of like a very informal, non-clubby book club of books that I'm reading too. You know, I don't want to turn around in 10 years and realize I've been traveling everywhere and I've seen nothing and learned nothing, because I've just like been inside of yoga studios. I mean, culturally speaking, learned nothing. Okay, then I've got a bunch of articles listed for you, self-explanatory. They're just things that I often pull from when I teach. And they're about basically mostly restorative yoga. And then some resources, those are diverse. Those are online courses from friends. The Enchanted Wonder cards are really beautiful for kids, stuff like that. And then we've got props listed because people always ask, of course. These are my favorite props. I've got just the United States Amazon listing, but it's so you can understand the brands and what I really love. Okay, last thing is digital learning, of course. All of our online courses are here, from the Shavasana Intensive, 21 Days of Rest and Silence, an Intro to Restorative Yoga that we did. Teaching Yoga was our own course that's about 8 different key topics for yoga teachers in any style. So it's things like touch, language, ethics, relevant, #me too. Okay, and then Office Hours is our monthly mentorship program, which you should all be in. It's only $19 a month, which is like one yoga class, and it's an hour-long live call with Mom, and she picks a different topic each month. So it's a way, wherever you are in the world, to plug into a kind of sense of Sangha or community. Living Your Yoga is an audio course we did based on her book, Living Your Yoga, which is about how to really live off the mat, yoga off the mat. I think Mom might have been, I don't know, one of the first people to really use that phrase in the 1980s, like yoga off the mat. And what does it mean? Sort of the yamas, niyamas, and also all of the wisdom that we gain from asana, pranayama, meditation. How can we move that into our everyday lives, like where it actually matters? You know, like that's where we really live, with partners and kids and people we work with, and people we're related to, and people we're related to's mothers, and like the whole spectrum, you know, mother-in-law. So yeah, that's Living Your Yoga. And then Experiential Anatomy is fantastic. You should definitely join that list, experientialanatomy.yoga. It's a free mailing list. We send out resources, and it's all about this wonderful yoga anatomy learning revolution that we're creating. And then we did something for Yoga Journal about Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. So that's all there. LizzieLasater.com/books are all of the behind the scenes resources. So I'm sending you all a big namaste across the skies. Thank you for joining me, and we will talk again very soon.